Ladies and gentlemen, to the, excuse me, the March 2025 Lancaster County Planning Commission. Thank you, everyone that's in attendance, and thank the commission members that are here tonight. I know we're missing one in Europe, and we're waiting on the other one. Hopefully, he'll come in later. Did everyone receive their minutes from what was now our last meeting in January? In time to review them?
Yes.
Any changes or updates noted?
No.
I'd like to make a motion to accept January's minutes as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Looks like we've got 4 public hearings tonight. The first of which is an update to the FY 26 through 30 capital improvement budget. And with that, Mr. Gill.
Mr. Chairman, as you are well aware, the Code of Virginia requires the Planning Commission to update and prepare an annual capital improvement budget to forward to the Board of Supervisors to include in their annual budget process. The Board of Supervisors a few years ago adopted a budget calendar to expedite the budget process, and that calendar that they adopted allowed for the Planning Commission to have 2 meetings on the capital improvement budget, one in February and one in March. You know that the meeting that was scheduled for February 20th was canceled due to snow, and so you're forced to look at the capital improvement budget tonight in one meeting. We need a recommendation tonight from the Planning Commission because to stick with the budget calendar that the board has adopted, I will have to advertise the entire budget on April 17th. That's my advertising deadline, which is prior to the Planning Commission's next meeting. So that's why we need a decision tonight. You know, this is a 5-year capital improvement budget, but you typically focus on just FY 26. You look at the requests. In the past, you've looked at the requests and determined if they were needed immediately, or maybe if they could be pushed out to the outer years. On the screen is the 5-year summary sheet. You'll notice down at the bottom there's some figures in green and orange. The third year of the new school project is $35,025,000. Now $20,025,000 of that is in green because that was previously approved. That was part of the original financing of $60 million that the board did back in 2022. The other $15 million directly below that green was an additional amount that the Board of Supervisors approved and appropriated in December of 2023. However, they did not go out and seek the financing in December of 2023 on the advice of our financial advisor, Davenport Public Finance, with the hope that interest rates would decline between then and now, which they have. And the last item in yellow is public access sites. You know that the board has been very active in the past couple of years getting public access sites on board. We've got 4 currently either under construction or under planning phase. Also part of that $9 million, almost $10 million, is what's needed to complete the emergency communications radio system project, which is a $5 million project. Also to expand the Kilmarnock Convenience Center site, double the size of that site. Also some engineering estimates for the Chesapeake Trail, which is the park between Lancaster and Lively. Olivia got us some grant money to actually fund the renovation of that park, but there is some engineering work that had to be done, and so that estimate, it's not shown up there individually, but it was on a second sheet in your packet, showed the estimate for that, and also an estimate for designing a conceptual shared EMS sheriff's office facility, not a jail, but shared EMS and sheriff's office administrative offices, which you'll hear about later. So that explains the color coding there. You all really do not have to worry about anything in that green or yellow because that's already been previously approved. Davenport will be here next Thursday night to go over with the board their financing options for that extra $15 million for the schools and the $10 million for the public access sites. So what you're concerned with tonight are the 9 items above the color coding. And we have representatives here tonight to address each one of those. And instead of me trying to explain them any further, I think I'll turn it back to you and let you call up the individuals to present them to you.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. We've got first responders here. I don't know if you guys have worked out who wants to go first, but ideally, I'd like to get a first responders through Matt, Jeffrey. Where's Matt? Oh, there you go.
You just made his day, Ty.
I'm a very busy man now. I'm just how y'all doing this evening? On our capital improvement plan for 26 through 30, first thing I've got on mine is the HVAC units, which we always ask for every year. That's worked out very well for us, replacing those on a time frame or a timeline, whereas we don't have as much maintenance. They're not breaking down in a timely manner because it's still taking 3-4 months to get HVAC equipment sometimes, depending on what you order. So that's worked out very well for us. The 2025 Chevy Tahoe, 4-wheel drive, that is another thing that we do is put a vehicle on here every year to keep costs down on maintenance and repairs. That has also worked out very well. I want to switch a couple things, and I'll explain that. I came in Monday morning and went in the back of the jail. Well, there was trash cans and buckets everywhere. I went in the rec room, and there was brown stuff running down the side of the walls and water in the floor from the roof where we'd had that hard rain Sunday night. So Vertex, who was here and did the flat roof on this building, was it last year, Don?
Yeah, they also replaced slate over the entire roof.
Yeah, and they did a very good job from what I understand. You haven't had any more problems here, have we?
Just a minor leak here or there, but under warranty, they'll fix that.
Gotcha. So through the years, there's been Band-Aids placed on the flat roof that were over top the jail. The admin area has an A-frame, so we don't have any problems with that. I believe I was here 10 years ago. Ernie Sadler was here. Ernie found some coatings in 5-gallon buckets, if some of you were here then, that was supposed to last. It's a vinyl type thing that was supposed to last a while. Well, the guy from Vertex went up there when he gave me this bid and looked at it, and he named it, and he says, "How long has it been up there?" I said, "About 10 years." He said, "Well, that's about the life of that." So versus going and spending more money on something like that and putting Band-Aids on, I got a quote from him while he was here. The estimate to replace the flat roof on the jail to be approximately, excuse me, the jail is 78,000 square feet, and there are 2 layers of roofing currently on there. So both of those would be removed. The cost of the project with new membrane and tapered insulation for proper draining, he came through the price of $180,000. So I'd like to move the transport van, being as we're having the problems we have, because there's a lot of electrical, there's a lot of different things in that ceiling, and I don't want to cause those problems to get worse. They're in conduit and so forth, but I looked at some of the conduit the other day, and the conduit where some of it was leaking had actually started to rust. So I don't want to expose wires to cause more of a problem that would be a cost. So I want to move the transport van to 27 and move the roof up.
Well, they were both in 27,
27.
Jefferson.
Hold on, let me see. Okay, yeah, they were both in 27. All right, well, I'd like to move the roof up to 26. Getting into 27, the building, the Lancaster County Sheriff and EMS building, we've been kicking this can down the road for quite a while. The Sheriff's Office currently, it was built in 1978. We've done our best to keep it up and make it looking good. We just had a accreditation with the national accreditation come in this week and cleaned it up and did everything. They seem to be happy with it, but not many buildings you go in now in today's world where the citizens come right past the sheriff and the major and everybody to do their business there. Thank God nothing has happened, but you never know. The sheriff has his open door policy, keeps his door open to talk to people and so forth, and he would still have that. But it's very dangerous to have the community just walk down the hallway where your administration staff is for sheriff and major. And I don't know how many of you have been in there. If you'd like to come down there, I'd be glad to give you a tour of what we've got. Our dispatch is in there. The dispatch has been crammed in there. We've got 3 dispatchers most of the time now working because we have to do CPR on the phone, and that's a mandated accreditation we have to have. Our jail staff's in there working, so it's a very cramped situation. And EMS, we decided to add them in to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone because they're renting or leasing the building down here that was the center for rehab. So they're still there at that point. So we met with Guernsey Tingle and sit down, and they asked us, okay, what do you want at this point? Well, we don't want a situation where we take a building from 1978 and just put new material around it. Lancaster County is growing. Everything that y'all are doing and approving, I think it's great. You're bringing people into the community, businesses into the community. So when you have people and businesses coming into the community, emergency services is going to have to grow. So when we build this building, we're looking at building this building, well, you're looking at 1978, and here we are talking about replacing it now. So at least that far into the future. And trying to predict some of that stuff, that will help us out. And bring Lancaster County Sheriff's Office back into the future. So, Matthew, I don't know if you have anything to say about your situation on your side with that. Now, if you have any questions, Don said that you had a packet in front of you that listed everything that we wanted to put into the building and that kind of thing.
I just want to ask one question, Jeffrey. When you started talking about the building, you said move into 27. Is it your intention to have the building in 27? Because the thing you turned in said 26 through 28, so
Well,
I put it in 26.
What we're looking at is this is going to be I guess a project in steps.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at this being the building, the septic, got an email the other day from Guernsey Tingle. They had to go with a different septic company, and they finally got that the other day. It's going to be $30,000 to $34,000 to add the septic on for that building to what we currently have. And she also added a note in there that the totals that you see on here, you can add approximately 3% to that every year that we wait or so forth.
We had this project originally brought up for EMS a couple of years ago. Got to the design phase, and then it kind of phased out. Our biggest challenge is just space. Right now, it's with the addition of the pharmacy and everything else, we're just limited on space. And right now, we have rooms at the primary school, the hospital outbuildings, the storage shelter behind Advance, the Red Cross building. We're just out of space, and like you said, we're still renting. So an improvement for this is really much needed. We're 20 years old, over 20 years old at this point, but we also had kind of looked at moving the emergency operations center, and really the part of this building, kind of what I said before, was just a combined space. So you're knocking out your training center, your emergency operations center, you're adding your storage space, kind of all in one go. Yeah.
So, Don, to answer your question, I don't have my glasses on, I guess, so, but yes, we'd like to be breaking ground in 26.
So we'll leave it in 26.
So, and this was also, we came to the board, Mr. Lee remembers, and we're talking about adding on for the dispatch and those kind of things, and it was just kind of like, okay, well, why don't we look at a new building and see what we can do from there? And this is where we've gotten with it. The transport van that I was talking about that I wanted to move back, we're transporting more and more prisoners now. A lot of prisoners going to DOC. The other day, we had 3 that they called for, and we had to take 2 different vehicles, which tied up 4 officers. Saluda gave us a van about 5-6 years ago that they no longer needed. They bought a new one. And we've been using that, but we're really afraid to go too far out of the county with it, well, out of the Northern Neck with it. So we've just been using cars, and it's a whole lot safer with the transport van. The price that you see was for a full-size Dodge. The cost, the chassis was 52, the conversion was 40,000. And it's like I said before when I come to y'all, anything that's security or for a sheriff's office, it's like buying something for a boat. You can just raise the price tag up on it. So, but they converged these vans into security vans. We really, and I've talked it over with the guy that gave me this quote, he's trying to, we could actually get away with a minivan that would haul maybe 4 or 5 versus a big one. So I am looking at that, but I did want to relay the cost of what a van like this would be if we had to go with a big one. And that's pretty much everything I've got. Is there any questions on anything?
Guys, have any questions for Mr. Haywood?
Yeah, we were not able to get any drawings. We really haven't got to that point to tell Guernsey Tingle that we want to go ahead with something like that. But we did want to have something in place so that we can get this thing moving. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, I've got two items on the 5-year plan. One is the replacement of our cardiac monitors and mechanical CPR device, and the other is replacement for the ambulance for the Upper Lancaster Rescue Building. The most critical thing, I'm sure y'all have seen this for a while, the cardiac monitor. So what we were doing is waiting for their next generation to come out. So it was released middle part of last year. So now we're ready to transition. So our cardiac monitors is what we use every day. Anywhere from taking a blood pressure to defibrillation to taking a picture of your heart. The device is used daily. It's saved countless lives. And the counterpart to that is the mechanical CPR device. So our devices are all over 10 years. They went unserviceable in 2024. So at this point, if they do break, we're kind of stuck. So with this enhancement, brings us kind of more up to date, a lot of improved algorithms for cardiac diagnostics, a lot of improved features for just your advanced cardiac care in general, as well as a more user-friendly setup. The CPR device is really outside of the programming the device is very, very similar to what it was before, which in itself, I can't even put into words the relief that providers get from that device, as CPR is very, very demanding. With this device, you attach it to the patient, and then you free up one of your providers. Majority of our cardiac arrests are 2 people with a whole lot going on, so it just really, really improves our chances for survival. So those are our biggest items. I did a detailed narrative, and on the last page I included pictures of both of the devices. So I have all of our products are Stryker. This just moves us in line. Everybody's already familiar with it. The device is really good. The total estimated cost at $234,119.50. This would be purchased through the cooperative purchasing program through Sourcewell. So it's on contract and discounted. That includes 5 years of Stryker ProCare with parts, labor, travel, preventative maintenance, battery replacement, which is a big one. And then we're going to trade in 2 of our old units, but keep one so that we do have a backup. So I will also put that through a grant as well to try to get funding there. The second item, the Upper Lancaster replacement ambulance. So we got the unit that's current, that this is intended for in 2019. It's almost over, probably is over 100,000 miles right now, starting to see a lot of mechanical issues. And last year, it spent more time out of service than in service for issues. So currently, they're at 36 months once the contract is signed to make the purchase. That's also a contracted purchase and a big grant opportunity for that, as well as the previous 2 units. We put our new unit in service last month, so it's providing a lot of relief. But if anything happens to that truck, we're kind of scarce for a backup right now. Trying to get the other truck repaired, but by 2027, I think this will definitely be needed, because we would really be looking at 28 or 29 by the time it arrives. So that's all I have. Are there any questions?
No, thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
as also for all the grants and stuff you get as well. Working on those. All right, I'll let the rest of you guys fight it out. Any takers? He beat you to it, CD.
Good evening, everybody. I have 2 proposals I'd like to present to the board tonight. The first being a revitalization project of the administration building. The building has a long history of water damage. Well, since we've gotten the roof repairs done, it'd be a good time to go ahead and get the revitalization done. This would improve the aesthetics of the building, prevent additional deterioration, and it would allow us to complete repairs that had been delayed due to the roof leaks. I would like to highlight a few areas of the project. I believe you have this quote from contractor? All right. One of these projects in this scope is going to involve replacing the door that goes to the boiler room on the outside of the building. If you haven't seen that door is actually falling to pieces, the whole door frame, door jamb, everything. The boiler room windows have been knocked out for quite a few years. Those windows would also be replaced. The patrol division, which is the old courthouse on the far side of the building.
Below? Below?
Yeah, that water has been seeping through that wall for years. And part of the scope of this work would be to dig down outside that wall, probably 6 or 7 feet, waterproof the wall, and complete that restoration. Jeffrey's gone already. I was going to give him a pat on the back. The sheriff's office just did a revitalization to a certain extent down there. They put a lot of paint on the walls down there, and I'd like to get this done to help protect their efforts. They put a lot of work into it. All right, another part of this project would involve, as you walk through the building, you'll see a lot of areas on the ceilings where plaster is coming down. A lot of that plaster would be removed and replaced with sheetrock. A lot of paint needs to be done, carpet replacement, shelving. There's another part of this project that was not quoted because of the contractor who gave us this quote thought it would be better to approach that on a time and material basis. If you go upstairs, right above us, to those office areas up there, that ceiling is in really bad shape. And the working conditions around that ceiling repair are going to be pretty tricky. There's ductwork suspended from that ceiling, and because of the unknowns involved with making those repairs, again, the contractor would prefer to work that as a time and material job. The other proposal is for the purchase of 2 spot coolers. The spot coolers, here's a picture of these spot coolers. They're commercial. And the 2 units that I'm requesting are each 3-ton units. The purpose of these spot coolers is, well, the spot coolers can help avoid short-term productivity losses during summer months when building air conditioning systems break down or need replacement. We had a compressor go out on the courthouse unit a couple of years ago, Don?
Yeah.
About 2 years ago? And the lead time on that, just getting the parts for that almost was a month. And we were lucky to get the new compressor within that month. We were actually told that originally it would take 6 to 8 weeks to get the compressor, so I guess we got lucky getting that compressor. The courtroom air conditioning, the courthouse air conditioning system, because of that delay in parts, ran at half capacity almost all summer. What these spot coolers would allow us to do is, in the event that we lose an air conditioning system in, say, the social services building, or in this building, or in the courthouse, these spot coolers allow us to be able to set these units up within a very short period of time. It'd take about 30 minutes to set one of these units up. You simply plug it in the wall, and you can provide up to 3 tons of supplemental cooling to different buildings and areas of buildings that that would need it. We have had quite a bit of productivity loss with people leaving work because of hot conditions in buildings. And we need to, the air conditioning system over at the courthouse is 14 years old. I am hoping to limp that thing along for another 3 to 4 years. I can't guarantee we're going to get that out of it. At some point, when we get around to replacing that system, we're going to need supplemental cooling in order to keep those offices functioning. And these spot coolers would also provide that means. Any questions?
No?
Good.
Nice write-up, thank you.
All right.
You're in line. What happened to school buses costing, what, $78,000 just a couple of years ago?
Yeah, COVID.
It's crazy. Did I imagine that?
And these are the longer buses that, dollar for dollar, the shorter 60, what they call 66 passenger bus, and that's assuming you're putting 3 kids to a seat. And the 77 passenger bus, which are the longer ones, the difference in cost is negligible. So we get the longer buses, carry more kids. And by the way, speaking of the passenger capacity, that assumes 3 to a seat. Once you get to 4th or 5th grade, you can no longer put 3 kids on a seat without them being in the aisle. So, thank you. So, my name's C.D. Hathaway. I'm with Lancaster County Public Schools. I'm the Director of Transportation, Safety, and Security. So, I'm here to let's talk about the easy one first. The easy one is the School Security Grant Matching Funds. That's a state grant whereby they give us money. We have a 25% match. We may or may not get that, but this is in the event that we do, based on the amounts we generally get. Some years the state is more generous than others, but that's what that is for. So if we don't get it, then we wouldn't need it. And if we did get it, then we would need it. And that would be every year as it's projected. It's the same every year. So that was the easy one. School bus replacement. The Virginia Department of Education recommends a 15-year replacement cycle on buses. And as Matt Smith and Mr. Haywood just spoke to, The longer they're on the road, the more maintenance heavy they become. And the bigger something is, the more it costs to fix. And we just lost a bus that is within its replacement schedule lifetime of 12 years. The turbo was blown in it. It's economically not worth repairing for the excessive cost that the repair bill is going to be. So I'm down one there. We have, somehow, years ago, we got into a cycle to where we got out of cycle. And we ended up with multiple buses in 1 year, so we didn't get, we have like 3 buses that are all of the same age. So this year especially, we need to consider our 2-bus replacement. There was a question Mr. Costello asked earlier about us going to a single route bus system and, you know, effectively putting all of the kids on one bus rather than have an elementary route and a high school route. And if one thinks that you cut your buses in half doing that, then that's not true. You really only save 1 or maybe 2, but definitely 1 bus in that, because you still have to cover the entire area of the county, and you can't cover all of Lancaster County with 6 school buses. You can't. And you couldn't hold all the kids on them. So I just want to be, and another thing that happened, that since I've been there, really, in just a brief period of time I've been there, special education has exploded. And more importantly, with regard to my job, the individual education plans, the IEP plans that call for a child to come off of a bus and go into a car or a vehicle, and that has increased the number of cars and vans, mostly minivans, that we now have to send all over the county. And we now have 4 of those in excess of 129,000 miles that we used to use sparingly, or they used to be a staff car, or the swimming team used them, or now they're being used to transport students. And those things need to be replaced too, as part of student transportation, because it keeps ballooning out. So for that reason, and those reasons, for the FY '26, we'd like to request the 294. And if later down the road, we can knock that 2-bus cycle down to 1, which I think there's a chance of, then we will change that in the future.
I thought that's what we were on, 2-1, 2-1.
2-1, yeah.
Yeah, this is the 2, yes, sir, this is
Yeah,
the
this is
2-year.
Yeah.
But we're coming up on changing our routing
Went
system
up a lot.
to combine them both. But I'm not at the point where I can immediately drop this one this year just because we're starting a single route system. Because again, it's only going to save me a bus.
Nothing's changed, just the skyrocketing cost.
Well, the cost of the buses, yeah, and I don't have with me what it was the last time we bought one last year, but it was also the same thing. I think it went up $5,000, I believe, don't quote me on it, but I think it was a $5,000 increase from the last time we ordered one. But that's the deal. That's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, if they're about these 2 things.
I remember when John started that schedule, but that's worked out well for the county.
It has worked out well for us, and like I said, there is a chance, I don't want to be quoted on it, I don't want my name splashed over the internet over it, but I would like to think that because of the 1 bus saving on the routing, that over a period of time, you're going to save having to buy a bus. All right, and I don't know if that means we go to 1 every year, but over the period of time, it has got to save us a bus, which by that point, probably going to be knocking at $200,000. But just being transparent, that's the word of the day.
Yeah, it's almost expensive as Matt's ambulance.
Not quite.
No, good, good. You got any questions for Mr. Hathaway? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
You sit right here. Actually, stay right here.
Yeah, you can sit right there.
You got a microphone already to go.
Was there anyone else?
Nope, we say the best for last.
Thank you, sir.
You're up.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Claudette Henderson. Besides sitting up here, I am the Social Services Director. And we have actually 3 items on our capital improvement budget request. The first one is our HVAC system. Currently, we do have 2 independent units. I was able to get the date off one of the units. It was 1987, the other one not. I wasn't able to get that date. Want to give a caveat. When I got this budget. I had been in my seat for about a month or two right now. So it was like, okay, hurry up and get this done. At any rate, the two systems that we have now, first of all, our building, the windows do not open. So in the wintertime, we are supplementing the heating system with heaters in individual offices, which are a fire hazard if left on. And in the summer months, we're bringing in fans, which also increases the electrical use. We did get a quote from Gilman, and for the 2 units, they still would be 2 independent units. They can use the current ductwork. They would be configured so that each office could adjust their temperature, and then in the common areas, the temperature would be static. So the quote for that was $124, $154. And the second item is a drainage system, because around our building, we do not have any type of drainage system. And it was suggested a French drainage system. When I came in the other day from the rain, I think it was Sunday, at our back door, I took a ruler and it was 8 inches of water just sitting there. And it just sits there until it goes away. And I understand with water sitting like that in cold months, that can affect the slab that the building is sitting on. So that was approximately $10,000. And then the third item, at the front of the building as well as at the rear of the building where the employees enter, the concrete is cracked. At the front of the building, we have an indoor-outdoor mat over the crack so that we will not have a tripping hazard, and the same at the back. And that was quoted at about $5,000. So the total request for these 3 items is $139, $154. Are there any questions?
How'd you get in the building with that 8 inches of water? What the heck did you do?
Well, it's on the side of the
Okay,
sidewalk.
good. To walk through it.
Side of the sidewalk. But yeah, it just pools all around the entirety of the building.
You guys have any questions for Dr. Henderson?
How about the front parking lot when we had that rain? Did that drain in the front parking lot work, and it wasn't?
No, it pools in the front as well,
Right
in the
where you
middle of
walk
the
in?
drive.
Right where you walk in?
So you can imagine in the winter months when the water, if
The
it
skate rink.
rains and it snows, it freezes over, so it is a hazard. Liability. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all of them. Okay, so we've been directed not to
Well, you need to have a public hearing.
not to prioritize. I'm just letting them know.
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think, I mean, in the essence of time, I think if you all just forward a list for FY '26, whatever you
Okay.
think should be in FY '26, I think that will satisfy the board.
okay, thank you. As Mr. Gill noted, we could now open up this portion of the Planning Commission meeting for a public hearing regarding the capital improvement budget that was just presented to us, the items. If anyone has anything to say, please come up to the microphone, state your name and your district. Anyone online now? Okay, we will close this portion of the public hearing. As we sort of talked about before the meeting, we don't really know enough about the sheriff's, proposed sheriff's EMS building, which is, I know we need it, but, you know, we also have the school coming up too, so, you know, based on some conversations, maybe we want to wait and see if we can utilize what's now going to be the old high school. That can help out either department. So with that said, I'm recommending we push the building, the combined sheriff's office EMS building into 2027, and leaving, and bringing in Mr. Haywood's request of the jail roof replacement into 2026, and leaving all other items the same. What do you guys think?
I agree.
I agree.
Glenn?
Fine.
Steve? I'm fine with it. Anyone want to make a motion, please?
I move that we forward the capital improvement budget as presented with the two changes. One, to move the $180,000 for the sheriff's office jail roof into fiscal year 2026, and to move the combined sheriff's office and EMS building at $13,136,848 into fiscal year 2027. Then we forward that to the board for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Booth. We have a motion on the floor as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we're moving right along now. Item, excuse me, number 2, update to the FY 2530, we just went through that one. Proposed revision to Part 1 zoning ordinance, Article 25, citing of wireless telecommunication facilities to comply with updates to the applicable Virginia State Code. Ms. Hall and Ms. Pruitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have before you this evening a public hearing to consider the recommendation of proposed revisions to Part 1 of the zoning ordinance, Article 25, sitting of wireless telecommunications facilities to comply with updates to the applicable Virginia State Code. In 2018, the General Assembly of Virginia made changes to this code, and in order to obtain compliance with the code, we are requesting the proposed changes be approved. A copy of the proposed draft revisions of the Part 1 zoning ordinance were included in your packet. These changes are a revision to the previously adopted code. At a prior meeting in 2024, the Planning Commission made additional updates, mostly in regards to the entirety of the rest of the code for installing new towers. The codes that we're making tonight are for co-locations. The code changes that we're making tonight are for co-locations only. So the changes that you see that were proposed address all of the necessary parts of the code to achieve that compliance, and staff is recommending approval of these revisions. Thank you.
And just to be clear, this is what the state is mandating us to update.
Correct, in order to be in compliance. Specifically, one of the items would be the amount that we could charge for a co-location. They've capped that at $500. It was, originally it wasn't capped, and our fee is $2,000.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Before we open up public hearing, anyone have any questions for staff? Okay. Take this opportunity to open up our third public hearing tonight regarding the application for change of zoning, proposed revisions to Part 1 zoning ordinance, Article 25. Again, if anyone has any comment, I'd ask you to come up to the stage, please, or to the podium, please. State your name and district. Okay. We will close the public hearing portion for this. And do we have a motion to forward this to the board, please?
I move that we recommend the proposed revisions to Part 1 zoning ordinance, Article 25, siting of wireless telecommunications facilities in order to comply with state code. Forward it to the Board of Supervisors for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Booth. We have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Keep you busy. Moving right along to our next public hearing, we've got an application for change of zoning district classified from residential general district R1 to industrial limited district M1 by Karen and Christopher Todd Patterson for two 0.53 acre parcels identified as tax map numbers 2618E and 2618L. Ms. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Glenn, could you pull up the slideshow for me? Thanks. All right. So we have for you this evening an application to change the zoning district classification from residential R1 general to M1 industrial limited for the Yankee Point Marina located on Oak Hill Road in District 1. Tax map numbers 2618E and 2618L are the parcels. If you look at the screen here, you can see the industrial zoning in yellow. There's a parcel immediately adjacent to that northmost industrial parcel that he wishes to remain as residential. That is the home where Mr. Patterson resides with his family. The additional two parcels north of that would be 2618E and 2618L, and those are the parcels he's looking to rezone. The applicant wishes to utilize both parcels for boat and boat trailer storage as part of the services provided by their existing business, Yankee Point Marina. This rezoning request may be considered reasonable and appropriate if the nearby parcels have industrial uses, which we can see here on the map for the existing marina. Those parcels include 2616, 2618, 2618J, 2618H, and 2618F, which are all zoned industrial. The comprehensive plan suggests strategies for achieving the county's objective of making growth and development consistent with the county's vision statement. One such strategy listed is to coordinate with an economic development program that identifies the type of industrial and commercial development desired by the county, and to identify the most appropriate areas in the county for location of supporting facilities and infrastructure. The comprehensive plan also lists the goal of preservation of Lancaster County's maritime heritage with the objective of preserving and promoting our maritime heritage, the watermen who continue it, and our waterfront recreational and service industries. These tax map numbers are located within one parcel of the M1 zoning utilized by the Yankee Point Marina, which is part of our water-dependent service industry, providing waterfront recreational opportunities for the community. County staff have recently received feedback from multiple county taxpayers that there are not enough boat and boat trailer storage options in the county, and that the options that do exist are not near their preferred boating locations. To help their request, the applicants have provided a signed and notarized conditional rezoning proffer, which is included in the packet. This issue was advertised and adjoining property owners notified as required by code. The public comments submitted regarding this request have been shared with the Planning Commission. One of the public comments received was in regards to sewage disposal at the site. I spoke with VDH staff, and they informed me that Yankee Point Marina's current sewage disposal methods are compliant and sufficient, and that the current owner is in fact looking to upgrade the system further. I believe the applicant is here this evening and would like to say a few words as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Do y'all have any questions for staff?
Yep.
Applicant, Mr. Patterson, would you like to come up and give us a little bit of history of what's going on, please?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for hearing this application. As you can see from the picture on the left where we have the boats, with our acquisition of the assets of Rappahannock Yachts when they've closed down, we now have a second travel lift, a second hydraulic trailer. The yard's getting a lot fuller. Traditionally, over many years, boats have come down, trailers have parked within the working boatyard, which is not going to be viable for much longer. We need that space to be cordoned off for the big equipment. When we purchased Yankee Point Marina, we purchased the home immediately to the north, and that came with one of the half-acre lots. I don't know if it's 18E or 18L. We did just acquire the other one this year. The goal, we also have a application in for a new boat ramp, which was approved by Waterways. We'll go down to VMRC or next week for final approval of that. But our hope is to build a new boat ramp, and we're going to need more trailer storage. We've got to have more places, safe places, for people to come and access the waterways. So that field is a perfect location for that. In addition to providing trailer parking for visiting boaters, we're also launching a program, if you've heard of Boatels before, where they put boats up in racks. Well, I don't feel the need for us to go up right now, so why not use this land space? So we'll be able to provide people visiting this area or people who want to frequent this area the opportunity to leave their boats at Yankee Point. They call us up, they say, hey, we're going to be there Saturday at 10 a.m. Their boat will be in the water, it'll be gassed up, it'll have ice, it'll be a full service opportunity for them. When they're done at the end of the day, they drop it off on the fuel dock. They go home or they go back to their rental house or wherever they're going. We take care of fueling the boat, cleaning the boat, so it's another economic opportunity for us here. I know that Ms. Hall mentioned the septic. There are going to be no boat. This is all trailer boats, so there should be no septic implication for this. It's not going to be the larger boats like we have in the boatyard. It's going to be trailer boats. So nobody living on them, nothing like that. It's simply, it's another parking lot, but we're going to try and do it in a very nice and attractive way, trying to take into account our neighbors and the surrounding area, and in keeping with what we're trying to achieve, which is a first-class destination that is presentable and attractive to everybody who comes.
So if we don't want septic, how come you, in your request, have asked for accessory structures, yacht club, county section, public facilities, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I didn't want to restrict myself since
I get it.
I'm here in front of you. I wish I could tell you what the future may bring, but I may come in front of this board at some point in the future and say, hey, listen, I'd like to do something else. There's some other way that we can further improve Yankee Point. We can further improve access to the water. I just didn't want to limit it, so I went broad, but not hopefully overly broad.
I get it. You guys have any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we've got quite a list here from neighboring owners, so with that said, we'll open up this portion of the commission meeting for public hearing regarding the zoning change. And again, if you come up, I'd ask you to respectfully state your name and district. So the public hearing is open.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ken Null. I live at 135 Idlewood Lane in Lancaster. I'm a couple of streets over from the marina. I'm representing 10 Lancaster County residents that live in close proximity to the lots currently under rezoning consideration. I have a petition with their signatures and information, have given copies to Ms. Hall for distribution. Our first objection or question about this application is procedural. The application is being made by two individuals, yet it appears that the entity will reap the benefits as a corporation. That doesn't seem to be explained, and I thought I should bring it up for your interpretation. It's the Pattersons that own the property, but they want to do this for Yankee Point Marina. I know they own Yankee Point Marina. Seems like it's not been submitted. It should have been submitted directly from Yankee Point Marina. So that's a question for you guys. I'm not a lawyer. All right, it seems patently obvious that the plan is to greatly expand the marina operations by next rezoning the lot that his home at 1125 Oak Hill Road is on. That would allow him to modify the lot to permit the travel of his large boat travel lifts through this area to the lots now under rezoning request. Certainly, hundreds of boat stands seen in the pictures that I have submitted are meant for this purpose. That's what he got from Rappahannock Yachts. The attempt to make it look like this rezoning is only for small trailer boats is illogical. His point that he could in the future want to put up a boatel to go 3 stories up in this in the middle of this residential area is just amazing to me. It's going to completely change our neighborhood. The rezoning will be a major change to this quiet neighborhood. It'll greatly increase the noise levels between, both during working hours and on weekends, especially during the marina's weekend concerts, which are already excruciatingly loud. If rezoning is approved, nothing would stop the applicant from moving the industrial operations of Yankee Point Marina, such as his trailer-mounted compressor sandblaster, to the new area and sandblasting. Once he gets M1, he can do anything. This is an incredibly loud and dirty operation. He could also build a new 2-story carpentry building. With the M1 designation, he could legally make this nice, quiet neighborhood into just what Lancaster has always tried to avoid. This is why we've moved to Lancaster. This request will greatly increase traffic on a very narrow road, which serves as the only access road. It's only 1.5 lanes wide, and there are small children on this street. Many local residents walk their dogs on this section of the narrow road. More trucks and trailers will by definition increase the chances of accidents for both pedestrians and vehicles. The addition of vehicle and boat storage will by definition increase fuel and lubricant contamination of the ground and eventually groundwater. Virginia Clean Marina best practices are not being followed now. He's already got some boats located in this field. And they're not being followed in the area to be rezoned to prevent spills. The additional storage of boats may require an increase in number of restroom facilities. The last I talked to the health department, they do have to submit a plan, but it has not been submitted yet. Industrial activity at this site will result in increased trash that will be blown into our neighborhood and lawns. Currently, trash blows from the marina daily and is spread throughout our properties. How will this be handled? The owner of the marina has promised for 2 years to put up a privacy fence on the Saunders Lane side of the property to control trash and mass working in storage areas. Actually, 3 years now. Nothing has been done to date. He has also promised to plant shrubs for the same reason on the Saunders Lane side of the properties that he's now trying to rezone. Is this going to be the same thing as the promised privacy fence? What is the county going to do to ensure that these concerns are addressed if the rezoning is approved? Finally, and we have pictures, I assume that you can put the pictures up, we have multiple zoning violations currently happening at both 1129 and 1129 Oak Hill Road. Those are R1 residential properties. They can be clearly seen in the pictures submitted this morning to Ms. Hall. The county seems to be unwilling to address these issues. We either respect or enforce our laws, or we don't. Which is it? There is even a boat that projects well over the VDOT right-of-way, up to hanging right over the edge of the road. This is an accident waiting to happen. I respectfully request that you do not recommend approval of this rezoning project.
Thank you, Mr. Knoll. Any questions? Thank you.
I just want to make a comment, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Knoll brought up about the applicant, how it was worded. The owner of the property is the applicant. So that's how it was advertised, and that's the way it's supposed to be advertised, according to state code. He referenced ongoing violations. It has been the county's policy that if there are violations while an application is pending that would ultimately correct those violations, we have not enforced action while the application is pending. So that's just two comments.
Okay, on
Thank
that
you, Mr. Gill.
second comment, sir, the two violations.
We have a 3-minute time limit, Mr. Chairman.
We hadn't initiated that yet. I didn't know we had initiated that yet.
Well, I mean, it's, you know, the Board of Supervisors has a 3-minute time limit on public input, and the last meeting, that was, you know, grossly violated. So
Okay.
I think that that needs to be done and followed at this meeting, just as it is at the Board of Supervisors meeting.
I'll just say one thing. On the zoning violations, they are on the R1 properties. They are not the properties that are being rezoned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Bateman. I'm the Economic Development Director for Lancaster County. I just wanted to make comment from an economic perspective that the county has a rich maritime history and culture. It also has a rich history of residents living and working together along the waterfront. And the 2016 Virginia Working Waterfronts Master Plan, of which Lancaster was an author, was one of the co-authors of, that laid out strategies for local decision makers to protect working waterfronts. There has been a decline over recent years of working waterfront land. The recent sale and loss of Rappahannock Yachts in Irvington is a perfect example. To see expansion of a working waterfront, a marina, in a locality that went through great extents to eliminate its boat tax because of that rich maritime history and culture, is a good thing for our economy. It sees more people park their boats here. It sees more traffic to this county. and more people to see our community as being a friendly and open environment for both recreation and living, and would ultimately, I think, see people want to relocate here permanently. So I just wanted to make those comments to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's April Lake. I live at 1044 Oak Hill Road. I am facing the lots that is proposed for rezoning. Here's a picture of what I'm looking at so far. First of all, this is spot zoning in the residential area. It's been residential for many years. It is not going to help our community. It's going to increase the havoc of speeding, and it's already a problem. Also, it's not safe to walk out there. I mean, you have to really watch it. And let's see what else I have here. I got to look at my notes. And, well, basically, the spot zoning, it's not for, it's not going to help us any. It's a profit for the marina, and that's all it is. And, well, it's not going to be a boatyard. That was my greatest fear, but it's just going to be boat storage. And I'm going to tell you, it's ugly. And if you don't have anything to cover it up or anything, it's ugly. It's not pretty. I don't think it's fair. I think it'll devalue the property, and that's just not right. I don't understand it. You know, he bought the land, he bought the water. Well, you don't buy the water, but you know what I mean. He has a certain amount of space, and he has a wonderful business down there, and I think that's wonderful. But why encroach on the residents? I mean, it's a nice community, and it's been a nice community. And there isn't any reason, except for his profit, to rezone it. And I'm asking you, don't sell us out, because basically that's what you'll be doing. You think it's funny? It's not funny. Would you want to look at boats? Would you want to live on a road where you have traffic already but haven't increased? You don't realize, what does that mean? I'm up almost, I only have a few more seconds, okay.
You got 1 minute.
Okay. Well, all I'm saying is it's not helping us any. It's just for his profit only. And I'm asking you to take that in consideration. And protect your taxpayers. And that's what it is. Protect the taxpayers, the residents who live there. You guys don't live there. We do. So that's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lake. Have any more comments? Anybody online? Okay, we'll close this portion of the public hearing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I rode down there the other day and looked, and after I got these pictures, and it didn't look as bad as the pictures were made out to be, in my opinion. And then looking at some of the stuff we got here from the county where VDOT and the Department of Health have been contacted, and everything seems to be in line with them. This talk about a boat tail, I don't know the process, you correct me, Ms. Hall, Ms. Pruitt, Ms. Gill, but I would assume that some kind of permits would have to be obtained to put something like that out there. Is that right or is that wrong?
You want me to do it? Or?
Sure.
There would definitely have to be permits. He's offered a conditional rezoning proffer, so he would be held to that proffer statement.
Okay. And as far as septic would have to go through the Department of Health to be enlarged. I do know that any kind of buildings would have to come back for permits and permission here. I would be in favor of it personally, but that's just my opinion.
Thank you, Steve. Dr. Anderson?
Well, I'm just looking at the statement of intent for Industrial Limited District M1, and it appears that the application is in line with the statement of intent of the county. So I am in favor.
I have really mixed feelings. The same question that you asked at the very beginning about these additional things that are in the proffer concern me for the local residents. But on the other side, you know, we also want to see our local businesses succeeding. But I would have liked to have seen that not have so many items listed.
What do you think, Mr. Penn?
I mean, I was down there, I rode through there yesterday, I had to look at a job. I mean, there's some homes down there that, I see. If he wants to expand his business and he's complying, and I see nothing wrong with it.
I, like Mrs. Booth, am torn. Love to see a business doing well. However, we do have zoning laws to protect property values. There was no surprise, those properties have always been zoned residential since I was this big, and it's always been an open field down there. Would I want to, Ms. Lake, would I want to look at that? No, and I do think it's detrimental to your property value. I'm not going to even argue that. And then M1 is the granddaddy of them all, and I've been pretty straightforward through all these years, not going for increase in zoning. I don't think there's any surprise to anybody. Down zoning, I'm all about, but I don't know. So I'm just thinking if it was me, I would be totally opposed to it as well, but as a county official, like Mr. Bateman said, you know, it's good to see a business growing. But to what expense? I mean, we are tasked with protecting our constituents as well, or at least recommending, you know, make the final decision.
As far as the Pattersons meeting their neighbors halfway, you know, putting up the privacy fence, I think Mr. Knoll stated that it's been 3 years since there was a promise of putting up some type of fence or something to lessen the commercial look of the property. So, yes, on that point, you know, being respectful of the wishes of your neighbors while still providing jobs and economic growth, but being able to come to some middle ground.
Is there, without doing a zoning request, is there any way to offer a special exception just for small boat storage? I mean, is that even possible? I'm just trying to think out loud.
Not in R1.
And I mean, it's fair to say that you purchased it knowing it was R1.
I certainly did. If I may, since you've addressed me.
Come on back up here, because people in the virtual world can't hear you unless you're on the microphone.
I just wanted to address the comment about 3 years and a privacy fence. I have been very, very communicative with the neighbor who owns that section of land on Saunders Lane, Junior Brent and his wife Corliss. And we have worked closely together to talk about what needs to be done. I've also spoken with my other neighbor whose asparagus field is right on the other side of Saunders Lane. So I have worked very closely with my neighbors. When that property became available and I started to put boats on it, I didn't do it intentionally to violate any zoning laws. I quite truthfully just didn't think about it that much. I apologize for that. I did speak with Corliss Brent, and at that time she mentioned that she was upset about it. It's family land, and she remembers when it was all open field. And I said, well, listen, if I put up a row of hedges, if I put up some trees, you know, would that satisfy you? I'm not trying to upset my neighbors. So if we need to put up a natural barrier along that property line, we can do that. We can, you know, boats went on there, and immediately there was a call from the county saying, and my first reaction was, okay, well, we'll pull them off. And then I found out about my opportunity to rezone. So that's why we're here. That's why nothing has changed. There's no reason for me to plant a whole bunch of trees if this board decides that I can't make use of that facility. What we will do, if given permission, we will make it attractive. I understand that not everybody wants to look at boats. I get it. So I am trying to work with my neighbors. One of my neighbors is here this evening. I had yet to meet her. Her house is hidden behind a bunch of branches and shrubs and trees and all the rest, so I can't even see the house. So, you know, I'll do it in keeping with what she's already looking at, which is trees.
That's not right.
What's not right?
That's not right. I look at your boats. I can see your boats fine. When I come out of my driveway, I'm looking at it too. If anything, if you people allow this to happen, a fence has to go up with greenery in front of the fence, and the opening needs to face his house to where he can look in there, and we don't have to.
Yeah, you shouldn't allow it at all.
Anyway, I leave it to the board's discretion. I thank you for your time and giving me the opportunity to answer some of these questions that have been posed.
Thank you. All right.
Excuse me? Can I just rebut that one quick?
Is the public hearing closed?
The public hearing is closed.
Public hearing is closed.
He was able to respond.
He's the applicant. The applicant can
Two
rebut.
individuals he talked about are both on signatures on that paper. Right?
Okay. Well, based on what we're seeing here, I mean, and what I've heard from you guys, it seems like we're pretty split. Does anyone want to make a motion? Chancellor, what are your thoughts?
Torn.
It is torn.
Mr. Sorensen.
Want to make a motion? All right.
So hopefully I'm not speaking out of line. We cannot make any suggestions or recommendations about what might be proffered to us.
Correct.
But I'm just saying that some of what has been proffered does not make me comfortable. For that reason, I am going to make a motion that we recommend denial of the public, of the rezoning from residential R1 to industrial M1 for tax map 2618E and 2618L.
Thank you, Ms. Booth. We've got a recommendation for denial on the proposed zoning change. All in favor of that motion?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You know, I'm new to this process. So the denial, does that mean it does not go forward?
No, it'll go forward to the Board of Supervisors with our recommendation. And
Okay.
the board can,
They'll make the final decision.
they'll make the final
Yeah.
decision on it. This is simply a recommendation. So again, Ms. Booth has a motion on the floor to push this forward to the Board of Supervisors with the recommendation of denial. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion does not carry. Thank you.
So does someone need to make a different motion?
I don't think we need to make a different motion, do we?
Yeah, you do. I mean,
I think they'll figure, okay.
no, you haven't made any motion because that motion was not approved. So you have not made any motion.
I figured they would just see that we're 3 and 2. Okay, that's fine.
I'll go ahead and make a motion in hopes that what Mr. Patterson has said, that he will follow through with, but again, we can't enforce that. But I'll make a motion that we send to the Board of Supervisors the reclassification of District R R1 to industrial for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen. We've got our second motion on the floor to forward the application change with approval to the Board of Supervisors. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you guys for your input.
Did you hear Glenn?
What's that?
I see. Glenn, I didn't hear how you voted on that last vote. Okay.
He did deny. Okay, our fourth and final public hearing tonight is revision to the Waterfront Overlay District, W1, and definitions. Ms. Hall and Ms. Pruitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have for you this evening, for your consideration, revision of the Lancaster County, Virginia Land Development Code, Part 1, Zoning Ordinance, Article 18, the Waterfront Overlay District, W1, and Article 1 definitions. Glenn, would you please put the slideshow up? Thank you. Okay. County staff and the Board of Supervisors have received feedback that the Lancaster County, Virginia Land Development Code, Article 18, Waterfront Overlay, all districts W1 should be updated to address residents' inability to subdivide parcels that are within 800 feet of a tributary stream due to the restrictions placed on parcels within the Waterfront Overlay, which requires a minimum lot size of 2 acres. At the last Planning Commission meeting, staff presented multiple possible revisions to the Waterfront Overlay District with illustrative mapping showing possible proposed revisions. After review, Planning Commission members selected option 3, water shoreline 800 feet. The selected option was included in your packet. The proposed code language is intended to effectively address the community's concerns regarding the Waterfront Overlay District. At the January 19th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting, a comment was made regarding the possibility of heritage legacy exceptions for family subdivisions. Staff discussed this option with Mr. Jim Cornwell, County Attorney, and he advised that he could not recommend this option as it would require an extensive title search by staff for each division and would require an affidavit approved to restrict the sale of the property for a specific time frame to prevent immediate resale of the property. The question was also posed regarding the option to restrict the application of the W1 to subdivisions of 6 lots or more, meaning a subdivision of less than 6 lots would be exempt from the W1 requirements. Mr. Cornwell advised that he could not recommend this option as it would be discriminatory. Included in your packet is a recent example of a request for a family subdivision by a county resident. The family would like to divide a lot for 2 nephews. Ideally, the family would like the parcel to be evenly divided for this purpose. This parcel can be seen on the screen here, and you can see it's divided almost in half by that Waterfront Overlay District that's existing. This parcel is approximately 3 acres. While a subdivision is possible, the resulting parcels will be in irregular shape, and one nephew will receive a much larger parcel. In addition, a septic easement may be required if the smaller parcel does not include the existing septic system for the existing home. The proposed changes to the W1 would remove this parcel from the W1, allowing for an even division. And you can see that change here. Removing that tributary stream language results in the lower picture, and that takes that lot completely out of the W1. To date, staff have received multiple public comments in writing, and these have been shared with the Planning Commission. I'm going to go through a brief presentation, and then I think Mr. Gill has some comments, and Mr. Bateman and Paul Shakatano would also like to present. So this is an illustration of our current W1 and the proposed W1. An overlay comparison showing the difference in the 2 layers. This shows the proposed changes that we're requesting in the code. We're removing the tributary stream language and taking it that 800 feet from the water edge of the tidal marsh. We'd also need to update our definitions to include water shoreline, and that's a VIMS definition. What will change as a result? There are approximately 85,120 acres total in Lancaster County. The existing waterfront overlay consists of approximately 34,000 acres. The proposed update to the Waterfront Overlay District will move around 14,000 acres from the overlay, leaving 20,000 acres still in the Waterfront Overlay District. Parcels removed from the existing Waterfront Overlay District will no longer be required to meet a 2-acre lot minimum size for subdivision and will be subject to their underlying zoning sizes. What will stay the same? Parcels removed from the waterfront overlay district layer will still be required to comply with the zoning for the parcel, including lot size requirements, septic and well regulations, and environmental regulations, including erosion and sediment control, stormwater management laws, and the Chesapeake Bay Act. The 800-foot overlay remains in place along the water shoreline. The 20,000 acres still included in the waterfront overlay district must still comply with the 2-acre lot minimum for subdivisions and average 200 feet of water frontage where applicable. The following slides show some examples of areas to be removed from the waterfront overlay. All right. Bear with me here. Get my notes. All right, so this is near Brown Store, and you can see that green area on the right is the existing waterfront overlay, and that section would be removed. Next, we have near Crawford's Corner. This section would be removed here, which is not near the water shoreline. We have the new courthouse area, so near new courthouse where we are right now. This section would be removed. Near Pinkersville, which is also not near the shoreline, that would be removed. This is near Walmart, also not near the waterfront, that would be removed. Near Hills Quarter, this section here in the darker green is what would be removed, the lighter green would stay. This is near Devil's Bottom Road, again, the darker green is what would be removed from that section. And this is near Muskemon. That section there would be removed. This is near Field Trial Road, near the Richmond County line. That dark green area would be removed. The light little green area to the left would stay. And this is near Nutsville Road and the Haney Farm area. And that dark green area would be taken out of the waterfront overlay. Again, you can see that there is no waterfront in that location. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gill for his comments.
I'm going to reserve my comments for at the end.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bateman?
Again, my name is John Bateman. I'm the Economic Development Director of Lancaster County and liaison to Paul, who is the chairman of our Citizens Business Relations Advisory Committee, otherwise known as Lancaster 2035 Committee.
Good evening. Just a brief review of our county adopted strategic plan, which was adopted January of 2023. Our vision for all county residents is that we're known as an economically successful rural region, and we want to be known for our heritage or arts or water and nature-based recreation. We'd like to have a vibrant school system, and we want to focus on family values with safe and affordable living venues for all, creating a business-friendly environment with job creation and a place where volunteerism remains abundant. You'll notice the caps and large lettering in living venues for all. As you know, county's population is among the oldest in the state and on the East Coast. And you can see our age population of 65 plus with a median age of over 57.2 years. And if you take Northumberland, Lancaster, and Middlesex, Matthews counties, they're the 4 oldest contiguous age counties in America today. And because of that, we are losing critical workforce as we have this abundant waterfront that's beautiful with part of our heritage. We have retirees, near retirees coming in. The other side of the coin, the folks that need to provide services to us, our workforce, is leaving. And over a 10-year period, we see over 705 in our critical workforce leaving. And this is the continuation of a 20-year trend, which goes back to the year 2000. So how do we reverse this? The Here's another example of the workforce. Right now, we have 528 entering the workforce under 25 years old. Some of them may move to other locations because of not having sufficient jobs. But we also have over 1,500 people over 55 leaving the workforce. And it matters to all of us because of the loss of businesses and trades in the communities, employers not able to maintain convenient hours. We also heard about today the increases in the financial burden on our emergency services and our health and wellness facilities. We have an aging population that's placing additional demands on our county government and emergency services. Higher taxes as the county decreases in the number of landholders, and the school system receives less funding from the state based on the number of students and the wealth in the community. So our quality of life is at risk. And our goal is to increase the population of our county in this age bracket by 20% over the next 12 years, which is about 1,000 people. And we have a population, Don, somewhere around 10,800. What we're talking about is a population of still less than 12,000 people. And if you go back in the county records, at one point in time, we had a population of over 12,000 people. So we're not talking about a tremendous amount of growth in the county, but targeting the growth towards the type of people that we need to provide workforce for the county. And you'll notice we have 6 strategies. The top of the strategies is workforce housing, which is the main subject of conversation. Workforce housing specifies, our plan specifies that we would like to have housing for all. Workforce housing is housing that is going to be in the $200,000, $250,000 price range, which is getting increasingly more difficult. And affordability factors with interest rates continuing over 6%, not going to be trending down near as much as we originally thought. Construction costs up. We need higher density, and we need higher density locations so that developers will be induced not only by profit but by county incentives to help develop workforce housing. All our strategies, we have 6 strategies. 4 of them are dependent on people having a place to live. So when we talk about workforce development, well, great, we have some great ideas, but in forcing that or trying to promote workforce development, we need affordable housing. Most of the lots that are plotted today that are not built on will not have the target price range of housing that we need. And so we're only going to achieve it through higher density and restrictions with subdivisions going forward that would be an inducement for a developer to create at least a percentage of the development in workforce housing. Yes.
The vast majority of the current housing development in the county, which is either underway or proposed and approved by the Board of Supervisors, is not in the affordability range that we need. What you're seeing is well over $300,000 homes, and our own teachers, who are some of the highest paid in the region, make $50,000 a year. And if you look at HUD income limits, they are at or below 80% the area median income. This is our workforce. A house that's $300,000 is just simply not affordable for someone who makes $50,000 a year. Go ahead, Paul.
Yes, and from a banking standpoint, that equates to somewhere about $1,000 a month for housing. And you're not going to be able to afford a $300,000 house with, unless you have a very large down payment. So waterfront overlay is awesome. And I personally am in favor of a waterfront overlay that takes care of our waterfront and the areas surrounding our waterfront. The interior regulations that the staff is recommending, I would encourage you to adopt because it will help promote additional lands that we can then build, interior lands that will be able to build and induce better participation in creating workforce housing.
I can chime in again. The Board of Supervisors, when it set up the Citizens Business Relations Advisory Committee, intended it to be an advisory committee. And one of the focuses of the advisory committee is to consistently make recommendations to the board and commissions here in the county to constantly look at and review the county's regulations to make sure that they are not restrictive or exclusionary of the very strategies, goals, and objectives outlined in that plan. So to make the ability for us to create the housing affordability that we need for our workforce, we need to make sure that we don't have policies that restrict development in the very areas that we would like to see developed for that workforce housing. That's all I have.
That's all I have.
Any questions for the gentleman? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Anything else before we open up public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I would just ask that we limit the comments to 3 minutes per person. Andrea has a timer that will be up on the screen, and she has a pink card that will alert them when they have 1 minute left. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I should have noted that from the last time, but I didn't get the message. But, any other questions for staff before we open it up? Okay. We'd like to take the opportunity now to open up this portion of our Lancaster County Planning Commission meeting for public hearing number 4 regarding the revision of Waterfront Overlay District. And as I previously mentioned, if you have something to say, please come up to the podium, state your name and your district.
Okay. My name is Joe Chamberlain. I currently live in District 3, but until a few months ago, I lived for 32 years in District 1. And I had no intention of being the first speaker of this sort tonight whatsoever. My concern is being very, very aware of how much the current waterfront overlay has protected the quality of the water, which is what brings people to us. And if we kill the water, we kill the county. And I think we need to have the kinds of protections that this provides. I think saying that cutting all this area out of the waterfront overlay is going to make housing cheaper is a bait and switch, because it is not going to create land for affordable housing. Yes, there are areas here that maybe do not need to be protected, and they should be considered on a case-by-case basis. Not saying we're turning all this area, I mean, with what is the Bellwood Swamp? Okay, Bellwood Swamp's not waterfront. Bellwood Swamp is essential, the quality of the water there is essential to the quality of the bay, to the quality of the rivers here. We can't throw this out under the guise of making housing affordable, because land is what, 5% of the cost of housing? I'm sorry, it just, I see this as a way for developers to make a lot of money, to kill the county, and they're not going to care that it's dead, because they will have their money, they'll be gone, and our children, our grandchildren will be here suffering from what we threw away. So I have to beg you, please don't make this kind of grand change. It really needs to be considered parcel by parcel, case by case, whether or not something would be detrimental. How can you still protect the water? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chamberlain. I thought you did a nice job starting off.
I agree with Joe Chamberlain. My name is Robert Bennett. I live in District 2 for the past 30 years. And I just like to agree with Joe Chamberlain. The idea that we're going to give up, and the acreages are mind-boggling. So the county has 85,000 acres. The overlay covers 34,000 acres. That's 40% of the county. And we're giving up 14,000 acres, leaving 20,000 acres, or only 23% protected. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm all for workforce housing. But to give up our basic protections to the water of the rivers and the bay, it's not Lancaster County. We're a leader in protecting water quality, and we're not going to just throw that away. And it won't give us more workforce housing. They don't build workforce housing near the waterfront. But we've got a lot of acres. Even if we keep the overlay, the waterfront overlay, we've got 51,000 acres of land that's not covered by the waterfront overlay, which is available for development. So we've got lots of acres for developing workforce housing, but we don't want to take sensitive areas that need to be protected. It just leads to pollution, and we just shouldn't do that. So let's see, we've got 58 seconds left. So I just want to say that the biggest problem with the watershed overlay, waterfront overlay, is the 2-acre lot minimum. And I think that if you have a situation, like we've heard before at previous meetings, a lady wanted to subdivide, she didn't have quite enough acreage, just treat that on a case-by-case basis. Or even this is a case from a developer that's online that shows a lot, and it's a 5-acre lot, and he wants to put 6 lots, 6 individual lots on this 5 acres. The waterfront, and it's in a tributary stream. It's near a tributary stream. So he's going to pack these houses in here. Instead of a 2-acre lot, which is more reasonable, he's going to put 6 smaller lots in this. This is not a good idea. It's not a good idea at all. We need to protect our assets, and Lancaster and the waterfront is our asset and water quality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Your 3 minutes starting now, sir. No, I'm just kidding.
That 3 minutes
I'm kidding.
is just something that shouldn't be. If Paul Sacitano and others can just come up here and talk as long as they want, that's wrong. That's just plain wrong. But anyway, you heard these people. I came here when I was 57, so I'm within Sacitano's thing. I just happen to have lived here for a long time, and I'm now 91, looking at going further. I'm not ready to die, okay? But going back, some of these items we've had on waterfront, I came across the things from September 11th of '07. Comprehensive Plan Rec Session Number 1, Circuit Court. And a whole bunch of people that you recognize: Jack Russell, Davy Jones, Butch Jenkins, Wally Beecham. Wally Beecham had a bunch of items. Broadband promotion is important. preserving rural character of the county, low-cost workforce housing, public waterfront access, adequate water, farming and aquaculture, and continue the waterfront overlay. I say he had it right, and it's not time to be changing it. You don't need to. And if you do, why don't you think of, remember, you asked about what happens with 600 feet, and you asked what happens with 400 feet. I look at it, and I see 400 feet, and you can save most of your tributaries things and move it to 400 feet, might be another possibility. I don't hate, personally, if I were sitting there, I wouldn't be doing that. But I think you can do it. And yes, I know it, I can see it right there. But you really need to consider this all the way through. And also, tidal wetlands ought to be included in this. And it's been killed out of here. So put them back in. You really need to think about it, Bill, and Ty, and Tyra, and Steve, and Glenn. It's got to be done to save it for a long run. The storms are getting more, the weather is killing us, and this is all going to flow out into this and will be polluted. You've got a gem, let's keep it. Thank you. And that's, I got 10 seconds left.
Thank you, Mr. Costello.
You did well.
I'd like to say I did not know you were 91.
No.
That's impressive,
I didn't.
very impressive.
We're married almost 70 years.
She's
Wow.
keeping you young.
Sure is.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carla Beal, and I come because this is a personal matter for me. The plat that was listed, that was shown on I grew up there with both of my brothers, my mother and my father. And it's crazy to me because I just looked at land out there, Yankee Marine, much closer to the actual water than this plot of land ever will be. But it was approved to move on for industrial. That was right there at the water, okay? Those two pieces. Now, if you show that plat, 27282A, that's 3 acres there. When my mother and father died, they wanted to make sure that my 2 brothers and myself each got an acre so that we could stay close. Well, because of this waterfront overlay, we're not able to split it up that way. Okay, so we basically lost 2/3 to the waterfront overlay. I lost my chance to have it, but I have another family member who has an opportunity to develop on this land. They're not trying to bring in no workforce housing. We're just trying to make our land productive for our family. This was left to us. When you look at the waterfront overlay, there's no water. It's a culvert that's empty other than trash. There's no water flowing anywhere. And so I'm really confused. If Olivia was to put that back up there again and show the waterfront overlay, if you look at it, there's already homes in the overlay that were built there. How did they get to be built there, but we can't build on our own land? So I understand, because I grew up, I'm a native, I was born and raised here. I played in all of the water that was all around, and I care about the water quality as well. But I do not understand how industries can get waivers and exceptions, and they're right on the water, actually with the, it's not even anywhere close to the water. So what we're asking is to move it so that it's not it's from the tributary, not from the marsh. Correct, Olivia?
As it exists,
Explain
yes.
it.
Yes.
It would still be 800 feet, so the quality of the water would still be protected. Because even within that 800 feet from the tributary, there's no water there. The method that just came up for siting for the telecommunications, that's gonna cause more water quality issues than building 2 homes on that land there. The thing that was recommended for, I'm sorry, and just give me maybe 1 more minute, and I'll go sit
I
down.
don't think we can do that.
The solar panels that are being, constructed everywhere, how is that gonna affect the water quality? Do we even know? The rain, it's going into the ground, it's affecting our
Thank you.
soil.
Thank you, Ms.
So I don't understand how you can make those approvals for the county and not worry about the quality of the water, but won't make the
got cut
approval
off.
so that we can just have an individual homes there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, respectfully, we've got a three-minute time limit. It's been broken twice, so we've been more than gracious.
Hi, my name is Renee Duderman, and I'm in District 3. I moved here about 4 years ago, and I love Lancaster County, and I love what you have in place to protect your environment. It's what makes it so beautiful. And I'm here to ask you not to move forward with making any changes in terms of what you already have protecting the environment. I came here from Chesterfield County, where we like to joke, and it's not funny, that they don't like to see a tree standing. And it's a really awful environment to live in, and it's why I moved here. And I would also like to throw out there, is there any other option for housing people that isn't individual houses? Could you look at townhouses? Could you look at apartments? Could you look at things of this nature? I know a lot of the millennials and younger generations like to be in a community that's all enclosed and have restaurants around that. I'm just throwing out, is there other options that would suit these needs better than going and pulling back protections on your environment? Thank you.
What's your last name?
Duderman? It's a doozy, let me spell for you.
Thank you, Ms. Judah. I don't. Get that from Don.
Thank you.
My name is Pam Stewart. I have no idea what district I live in. I'm sorry. I live in Weems. So I was here initially back last year when you guys first started talking about this. And I wasn't necessarily opposed at all. I understand that there are areas of the county that they're dry, but when we have the rains like we did Sunday night, then a lot of the culverts become incredibly important. I've actually since changed my perspective for 2 reasons. I was recently driving down the road near my house, and there had been a lot cleared to put in a mobile home. And all of the big trees and the limbs and everything have been pushed into the culvert. And that to me is distressing because the quality of the culverts themselves affects the water that ends up in the Chesapeake Bay. Another thing that is distressing is that the Washington Post has just recently done an article on the proposed 65% reduction in the budget for the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. It's going to behoove us at a greater level to protect the water that does go into the bay, especially if we're not going to have the same level of recovery funding that we have had in the last 25 years. I sympathize with you. I would rather see a case-by-case consideration for waiver of the water overlay than I would just a wholesale change. And I am distressed that the language has been changed to remove the marshlands as a consideration. If you look at Louisiana, they lose hundreds of acres of protective marshlands every day. The marshlands have to be protected to protect the quality coming down through to the Chesapeake Bay and to the waterfront. That is the biggest draw here. I only have one other thing, is that I do appreciate that we need affordable housing. Personally, I don't think $250,000 is exactly affordable enough, but I believe that housing follows jobs. Jobs don't follow housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, my name is Pat Frere, and I live in District 3. I'm a county citizen and property owner. I'm also somebody who's here because I used to work with the county's planning office, first as the county's environmental planner, later as the county's director of planning and land use. Please know, since I've left working with the county, I really have tried to stay out of land use decisions and not meddle. I'm going to try my best to be in 3 minutes. But I have been monitoring proposed changes to the waterfront overlay with interest. If you don't know, as the county's environmental planner 31 years ago, my task was to develop 4 environmental amendments to the county's comprehensive plan: suitability of land for development plan, a protection of potable water supply plan, a shoreline protection study and plan, and a waterfront access study and plan. All of those were adopted by the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, and I think in some way are still in our county's comprehensive plan. As the planning director later, I helped administer the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act and waterfront overlay ordinances, erosion and sediment control ordinances on a daily basis, and I'm still pretty familiar with the ordinances, I think. Tonight, I'd like to give you my thoughts on the pros and possibly unintended consequences of the waterfront overlay as it currently stands. Please know, I truly believe the waterfront overlay has resulted in the positive, orderly development of the previously undeveloped tracts of land near our tidal shorelines. In tandem with the county's Bay Act ordinance, subdivision ordinance, site plan review requirements, erosion and sediment control ordinance, and administration, we are fortunate to have the beautiful, clean waterfront areas we currently have. However, as a former staff member, current county resident, I also believe the waterfront overlay has had unintended impacts, particularly when it comes to the creation of new inland residential parcels. This impact can be seen as shown on the slides earlier in the 800-foot waterfront buffer on the inland, often wooded and/or agricultural large tracts of land in our county, specifically applied to the non-tidal tributary streams that feed our larger water bodies, such as the upper western and eastern branches of the Caratoman, the upper reaches of the Lancaster Creek, and the same on the western and eastern branches of Carter's Creek. Please know that when applied to these parcels, the 800-foot buffer impacts a lot of undeveloped land, including farmlands, which are often relatively flat, previously cleared land, which have some of the better soils found in our county. These are the same tracts that are suitable for development for single-family residences at a lot size less than half the required 2-acre waterfront overlay minimum lot size. Additionally, these same parcels are often suitable for conventional septic systems as opposed to more costly alternative systems. Combine these required smaller lot sizes and suitability of soil for conventional systems results in new parcels that would be more affordable.
Thank you, Mr. Frere.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Maggie Watts. I think I'm in District 5, Irvington. I am here, I'm not really sure that I have a, let's see. was sort of an audible to come here, so I don't have anything prepared or written. I work for a small local nonprofit that is faith-based, and what we see a lot of is people who need help, particularly with rent and affordable housing. Most recently, comes to mind, there was a family of 5, 3 children under 6, 2 with special needs, living in a single wide trailer for $900 a month in rent. And if you make minimum wage, as the wife did, that's half of your salary every month going to rent, and that's before anything else. And, you know, I think there needs to be other considerations than the waterfront overlay, like density and condos, townhouses. But I'm here to represent people who don't come to these meetings, who don't have the time because they're working 2 or 3 jobs or don't have a car and can't get here. And I think that voice is important to be heard in this conversation as well.
Thank you, Ms. Watts. Anyone online? First off, I'd like to thank everyone for their comments. And if there's nothing more to add, we will close this portion of the public hearing. Okay, waterfront overlays getting up there with solar as far as the planning commission is concerned. Yes, sir, Mr. Gill, you were saving the
Yeah,
to the end.
I reserve my comments for the end. I want to address a couple of things that was said. A couple of people mentioned that they would like to see this handled on a case-by-case basis. The county attorney has verified that a Board of Zoning Appeals cannot reduce acreage through a variance. So it cannot be handled on a case-by-case basis. That is not an option. A statement was made about the protections going away. The Chesapeake Bay Act is still in effect everywhere. Questions was posed about other options as far as townhomes, condominiums. Lancaster County does have a zoning district which permits multi-family dwellings and also contains density bonuses to increase density. That's the R4 district. You know, there's only 2 properties in the county right now that are zoned R4, so there would have to be a rezoning for that. And the R4 district is not allowed within 800 feet of tidal waters. Now, having addressed that, I want to say that this issue has been a topic of discussion at 5 previous Planning Commission meetings. It has been spun every way possible. The bottom line is nothing on the waterfront changes. The inland areas like you've seen tonight, such as Crawford's Corner, Brown Store, this parking lot to the new courthouse, are currently within the waterfront residential overlay. These properties that I just mentioned, they are not assessed as waterfront property. They are not taxed as waterfront property because they are not waterfront property. And because they're not waterfront property, they should not be subjected to waterfront zoning requirements. The last thing I would say, in my opinion, this is just common sense.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. You guys have any more questions for staff?
No.
I, like you, Mr. Gill, think we've kicked it around, but I think we've done kind of what the board wanted us to do. We looked at every option you could do as far as heritage, variances for case by case, looking at large subdivisions versus smaller subdivisions, none of which are allowed. So hopefully we vetted it out so y'all don't have to go through the same thing. But all that said, we need to send it one way or the other, send it up the ladder. What are your thoughts, Steve?
You know, when the last 3 or 4 times we've done it, I was in favor of it. And then I read Chuck's letter, and I got to thinking about it, and I was wondering if we were doing the right thing or the wrong thing. But then I come back to it, and it's basically what Mr. Gill just said. It seems like we still have all our protection. It seems like we still have most of our protections. And the people like, I think it's Miss Beal,
Yeah.
would be able to do with her property that's not sitting on the waterfront what it was intended by her family to do. And I know there's more than just Ms. Beal here that has this same issue. So having said that, I would be in favor of it, of what we've got on the board.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen.
I concur. We've kicked it around. Glenn over there has run numerous situations from 400 feet to 600 feet. And I think at 800 feet, which is option 3 that we agreed on, still gives the protections that are needed for protecting the water. And also giving families who have legacy property the right and the wherewithal to do what was intended. So I am in favor of sending it on to the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you. You're torn again, aren't you?
I am, but we're still following the Chesapeake Bay Act. We've been, I hate to use the term overprotected, but we're still well within the guidelines that we have to follow, and I'm in favor of the change.
Okay.
You know, I was against it. I think it was back in October until at the end of that meeting, Mr. Lee, Mr. Gill, and I forgot your name.
Ms. Hall.
Miss Olivia. When they spoke at the end of the meeting, I said, "Wow, I didn't see that. I didn't understand that." But after that, I was in line with. I was in favor with it, and when we presented option 3 in November, that seemed to me be a good option to choose. I didn't exactly hear or understand what the last 2 speakers was trying to say. I really didn't want to hear. I think he said he was a former employee. And it seemed like to me he knew what he was talking about, but I couldn't hear you that well. And then the last lady that spoke, I really didn't understand what you was for, against, or I didn't understand. I didn't get it. But anyhow, I'm for option 3.
Thank you, Mr. Penn. Okay. I'll move you guys. You want to make a motion?
Sure.
Please.
So I make the motion that the Planning Commission forward this on to the Board of Supervisors with the recommendation of the 800-foot, glasses on. Option 3, lost my paper. Which one? See, I was ready to go home, I packed it all in. With the recommendation that we consider option 3, water shoreline 800 feet for the waterfront overlay, all District 1, W1 and Article 1.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. We've got a motion on the floor to forward this to the Board of Supervisors with favorable preference to option 3 as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Any new business coming down the aisle that we need to look forward to?
I did just receive some correspondence from VMRC that they're going to request that we have mitigation for any non-vegetated and vegetated wetlands impacts. There was a recent change to the state law. So once we receive their official correspondence, we'll need to bring the code into compliance for implementation.
Would that go hand in hand with this recommendation or not?
No, that would be separate. And we also have a coastal resilience update that we'll need to accomplish before October. So that will be coming to you in the summer months to comply with state law.
Thanks, staff, for all the paperwork and all the hard work y'all done on all this.
Yes.
You guys have anything else to add? Thanks, everyone. See you next month.